Hmm. 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 Wait a minute. Shrek Extra Large. I remember this. Was this game really as bad as I remember it being? Yep, it's just as bad as I remember. I absolutely loved the Shrek movies as a kid, and I still do to this day. I love Shrek 1, I love Shrek 2, I like Shrek 3 even though nobody else does, and I honestly don't remember much of Shrek Forever After. I've only seen it once in theaters, but I do remember liking it. Oh yeah, there's also a trailer for Shrek 5, and quite frankly, I'm not impressed. Anyway, when I saw that Shrek had his own video game at the time, I was excited to play it. So I went to buy it at my local Blockbuster, I took it home to play it, and boy did I hate it! This is one of those games that I only played for like 3 to 4 hours, and then immediately turned it off to play something else. So after that regretful purchase, I decided to rent Shrek 2 for the GameCube, hoping it would be a much better experience. It was better than the first, but I vaguely remember the game itself though. All I remember doing was playing as Shrek, Fiona, and Donkey in the swamp. Then we were roaming around far, far away, and I think there was a level where you had to fight Puss in Boots while pressing buttons to dodge his attacks. Holy crap, it's just like how I remember it. This was by far the worst GameCube game I've ever owned as a kid, but now I own this and Finding Nemo. Where's my copy of Finding Nemo? Oh, that's right, I sold it. So I guess the ultimate question is, which game do I hate the most? Well, let's find out. This is Shrek Extra Large for the GameCube. So booting up the game, we find out that this game was published by TDK Mediactive. Hey, I know these guys. These guys published the Haunted Mansion game for the GameCube. Sweet! The Shrek game was also developed by DICE. Wait a minute, aren't those the same people who made the Battlefield games? Oh wow, they are. I only played one Battlefield game, and that was Battlefield 1 for the PS4. It wasn't bad, but I only played it once due to a lack of interest. After that, we're taken to the title screen, and I noticed that there's no music playing whatsoever. Why is that? I'm feeling a sense of deja vu right now.
Well, here's the title screen, and there's no sound whatsoever. Why is that?
Mother of God. At least I know for a fact that my audio is working right, because as soon as you press the start button, you're greeted with this lovely sound effect. What? It's a compliment. Better out than in, I always say. You like my Shrek impersonation? When starting a new game, it'll ask you to create a name for yourself. The game starts off with somebody reading a storybook, kind of like in the Shrek movies.
Once upon a time, there was an ogre named Shrek who lived happily in his swamp with his lovely wife, Princess Fiona.
The plot is that Shrek and Princess Fiona are living peacefully in their swamp until Shrek wakes up one morning only to find that Fiona is missing. He soon finds out that an old sorcerer named Merlin kidnapped her, and if Shrek wants her back, he'll have to retrieve Merlin's crystal ball that's been stolen by the Ice Queen. I honestly wish they would have used in-game cutscenes instead of this storybook format to tell the story. Also, the story itself is pretty stupid. Yeah, this game takes place after the events of the first movie and before the events of the second movie. After the storybook opening, you're immediately dropped into the game without any opening cutscenes to set you up for the tutorial. Nah, you just out of nowhere spawn outside of Shrek's house, which is just lazy. This is how a tutorial level should open up.
Greetings. Welcome to the tutorial. Yeah, I know, you want to get on with things, beat up the bad guys, do the whole superhero thing, blah blah blah.
One of the first things you'll notice is how bad the level designs are. It looks and feels incredibly rushed, and it's one of the biggest reasons why I hate this game. Another reason why I hate this game is the inconsistent frame rate. Most of the game will run at 30 FPS, but every now and then the frame rate will increase to about 60 for a few seconds and then drop back down to 30. It's incredibly annoying. You move around with the analog stick and you hold down the L button to run. Shrek runs pretty damn fast for an ogre. When he's running around, he's just as fast as Sonic the Hedgehog. If you hold down L while standing still, Shrek will have this goofy looking stance like he's about to drop some butt nuggets on his lawn. You press A to jump, B to kick, Y to punch, X to grab, slightly press R to fart, press R all the way to burp, move the C stick to rotate the camera, and press Z to zoom the camera close to Shrek. The camera in this game sucks because it's always facing downward, and when you try to look up, it just zooms out. Also, the camera seems to get stuck behind things, which is incredibly annoying. The only way to get the camera facing up is if you zoom in on Shrek by pressing the Z button, but you don't want to do that because the camera's way too close to him. Shrek's character model looks weird. He has this goofy looking smile on his face, which made me laugh the first time I saw it. While I was looking upward, I noticed that the sky is a little too dark blue and it just looks odd. It almost looks like Shrek is on a movie set that's surrounded by a giant blue screen. It would look better if the sky was a lighter blue. The swamp is basically the tutorial level, and the mirror guy from the movies will tell you how to do stuff like wall jump, fight enemies, and use your burp and farting abilities. You have a fart meter on the bottom right, which will go down every time you fart, so in order to refill it, you have to eat smelly onions that are scattered around the levels. The chili peppers give you the ability to burp fire. If you fart and burp fire at the same time, it'll cause an explosion which will either help you jump higher or blow up certain objects. You'll also unlock new fighting moves once you get further into the game, but none of them matter because they're all incredibly worthless. After the training level, you spawn in a world map that takes you from level to level. Most of the map is covered in this gray fog and you have to complete the levels to clear it all up. The game is a platformer kind of like Super Mario 64, but instead of collecting a certain amount of items, you have to complete objectives in each stage before moving on to the next one. The first level is the Enchanted Forest, where you meet up with Little Red Riding Hood. She wants you to find her stolen candy that's been scattered across the forest. I found some stolen candy laying on the floor, but I couldn't pick them up because the game wouldn't let me. It turns out you can't collect the candy until you retrieve her candy basket, which is just stupid. And by the time I get to the candy basket, I completely forgot where all the candy was. So then I had to waste my time trying to figure out where I saw the candy. But before I could even retrieve the candy basket, I had to guide these two fat kids to the other side of the river so they can eat the gingerbread house. But we couldn't get across the river because this ugly troll was blocking the bridge. So I had to find a way to the other side of the river and knock down a tree so that the two fat kids can walk across it and get to the gingerbread house. I wonder if that's where Ninja Bread Man lives. Inside the gingerbread house was a super onion that I had to use alongside of the red hot chili pepper to blow up the giant vault where the candy basket was located. This level was just insufferable to get through, but it wouldn't have been so bad if the level design didn't suck. Yes, I'm going to return to this subject. A lot of the levels are garbage because they have such small and tight spaces, which makes platforming or even just walking around a pain in the ass. And because the camera is so shitty, not only was I getting frustrated, but I ended up getting a mind-splitting headache. I am so deadly serious. There's nothing worse than a game that causes me physical pain. The second level isn't any better. In Mother Goose Land, you are tasked with waking up the guards by ringing the bells in the middle of the night. I spent 30 to 40 minutes trying to figure out how to ring the bells. I tried punching the bells to make them ring, but that didn't work. Then I tried throwing the guards at the bells, but that didn't work either. It turns out you have to wall jump off the bell towers to get them to ring, and you have to do this multiple times. This mission is incredibly easy. I just didn't know what the hell I was supposed to do. Yeah, this is one of those what the f do I do type games. There's a mission where you have to fart on a dancing cow's face. No, I am not kidding. That's the whole objective. Then there's a mission where you have to keep the baby eggs away from Humpty Dumpty and return them to their mother. And finally, there's a mission similar to the last one where you have to keep the sheep away from this wolf who keeps kicking them around like footballs. Like, man, and you have to return them to Bo Peep by putting them back into the corral. Okay, I might have a sick sense of humor, but I think the combat in this game is just hilarious. Sometimes it's fun beating the crap out of the characters while listening to their incredibly bad voice acting.
Oh my god, you're such a bully. It's like, oh my god, you're so dead.
Yeah, come on! Ow! Come on! Ow! Put down my football! Come on!
Although the combat is funny, it's incredibly pointless because no matter how many times you punch and kick the enemies, they never die. But the enemies, on the other hand, can kill you, which is bullshit. You collect hearts to regain Shrek's health, but not only does he collect them, he also eats them. What the f***? There's also enemies that you can't punch or kick, like this creepy chained up bear trap with teeth, and this ugly bridge troll that I mentioned before. At least the sky in the second level isn't dark blue like in the training level. Ugh, what the hell? The son from the Teletubbies is all grown up with a f***ed up face. This guy is uglier than Superman 64. I don't know what's more disturbing, the fact that he's ugly, or the fact that there's sperm units floating around his head. All the characters are voiced except for Shrek, which is just odd. I mean, seriously, how hard is it to give him a voice? You don't have to get Mike Myers, you can just get somebody else to do it.
I'm an ogre! You know, grab your torch and pitchforks! Doesn't that bother you? Listen, donkey, onions have layers. Ogres have layers. Onions have layers? You get it, we both have layers.
This complaint goes out to Nintendo too. I don't care how bad the voice acting is. Just give everybody a voiceover so we don't have to read the whole time. And yes, make no mistake, the Shrek game has incredibly bad voice acting.
You're here to steal candy from me too. Well, those blasted merry men took it all. It's been like this ever since the Ice Queen took over Sweetsville.
Hey, Ogre, stop right there.
Be you an ally with the Ice Queen?
Oh, bet he is. He's all green and stuff. This means that you are under
arrest.
Now you might be wondering, well, if Shrek doesn't have a voice, then what about Donkey? Well, despite the fact that Donkey's on the game's cover art, he never makes an appearance in this game. I'm not kidding. Donkey is not in this game. You know how upset I was about that when I was a kid? The banter between Shrek and Donkey were the best parts about the film. You know who else isn't in this game, despite their screenshots being in the main menu? The Dragon and Lord Farquaad. I mean, for God's sake, at first glance, you would think this was an adaptation of the first movie. But no, it's a completely different game. What makes it worse is that the characters and environments don't make you feel like you're in a Shrek game. If they added in characters like Donkey, Dragon, Lord Farquaad, Three Little Pigs, and Gingerbread Man, then it would actually make it feel like a Shrek game. Hey look, it's Gingerbread Man. Same thing with the environments. If they had places like Lord Farquaad's castle and the Dragon's castle, then it would feel more like a Shrek game. I do like the music in the Enchanted Forest and Mother Goose Land. I do wish they could have added in songs from Smash Mouth, as well as some other songs from the Shrek soundtrack. I actually had the Shrek CD as a kid. My parents would let me listen to it during road trips from Texas to California. Yeah, my grandparents lived far, far away. This game has optional collectibles like fairies and Easter eggs. And when I say Easter eggs, I literally mean Easter eggs, which I thought was kind of funny. I don't know if they unlock anything though, because I haven't collected them all. I could do some research on that, but I really don't want to. I experienced a glitch in Mother Goose Land. I already mentioned the quest where Bo Peep tells you to put all 5 sheep back into the corral, but during my playthrough, one of the sheep disappeared from the level and I didn't realize it until 20 minutes in, so I had to boot myself out of the level and restart the whole quest over again. After that, I was finally able to move on to Sweetsville, which is level 3. I was hoping Sweetsville would be like a Candyland sort of place. This is where I stopped playing the game as a kid, because I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do, but now I was finally able to figure it out, and it does feel really good to complete this level after being stuck on it for so many years. First you have to fight this weird looking robot guy in the ring, but in order to beat him, you have to knock him out of the ring 3 times, which is pretty easy. Next you have to flush these doll looking creatures down the cement tubes, which is also pretty easy. After that, you have to kick the candy machine in order to get it running, but you can't let the factory workers get near it, otherwise they'll shut off the machine. You have to hold them off for 30 seconds until the machine fully fixes itself. Finally, you have to break down 5 whistles without letting the factory workers get near them, otherwise they'll try and fix them and you have to start all over. This level is pretty easy once you know what you're supposed to do, but once I got to level 4, which is the molasses sewers, I officially shut this game off. This is the worst level in the entire game so far. First off, the level is so unappealing to look at. Second, this level is f***ing dark. Third, there is a lot of platforming you have to do in this level, but the mechanics in this game are so bad that I couldn't do it. The game expects you to wall jump in certain areas, but it's really hard to do because Shrek flips all of his momentum in the direction opposite of what you're pressing. It would have been better if you could just double jump like in Smash Brothers or float in the air like in Mario Sunshine. Fourth, the level's layout is confusing as hell. I kept getting lost because all the areas in the sewer look exactly the same. I managed to complete the first task, but by then I couldn't take it anymore because my head felt like it was about to explode due to the jerky ass camera. I turned the game off, I took some ibuprofen, and I went to go play something else. Unfortunately, it doesn't end there. When I went to capture footage of this game, I somehow managed to figure out how to complete the rest of the task, and I even got into a boss fight with the Ice Queen.
Son of a bitch, now I gotta play the rest of the game.
The 5th level is the Lonely Mountain, where you meet a giant named Jorm. He agrees to help you if you can help find and retrieve his treasure. To do this, you have to find a 4-leaf clover and give it to a leprechaun. Then you have to melt the ice with your exploding farts so you can ride the minecart through the tunnel. After that, you gotta jump the streams to reach the pot of gold. But then a giant condor snatches it from the pillar. The condor agrees to give you the pot of gold if you can beat the shit out of the gnomes that are pestering her children. After all that's done, she gives you the pot of gold, you give it to Jorm, and you move on to the next level. This level wasn't too bad, but it has the same problem as the other levels. It's too cramped and crowded. The 6th level, Creepy Crypt, was such a pain in the ass to get through. What does this Halloween themed level have to do with Shrek? True, there were some witches in the first Shrek movie for a brief moment, but there wasn't any skeletons, spiders, or bats. I mean, why stop there? How about you add in some ghosts, monsters, and zombies? You might as well. Also, once again, this level is incredibly dark. This is one of the darkest levels in the game, and the worst thing about it is, you can't turn up the in-game brightness in the pause menu. If you're going to have a graveyard level, which you shouldn't because this is a Shrek game, but if you're going to have one, at least make it look similar to Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. Anyway, the first thing you have to do is lead the skeletons into the church. At first, I tried leading them up there one by one, but it didn't work. It turns out you have to lead all of them up there at the same time. So I led all of them to the church, but nothing was happening and it was starting to piss me off. Well, it turns out you weren't supposed to lead them to the entrance. Instead, you had to lead them to this side cliff so they can do a little dance and then head into the church. That mission sucked. Then you had to fart on the witches and punch them in the face, which was quick and easy. Then you have to lead the spider babies to their spider mom. This mission was awful. The game tells you to carry bugs to get the spider babies to follow you, but the bugs kept biting me every time I grabbed them, and by the time I knocked them unconscious, the spiders have already walked away from me and I have to start the whole process over again. I couldn't carry the spider babies either, which just made things even more complicated. Eventually I just said screw it and started punching and kicking the spider babies until we got to their mother. This took f***ing forever! And finally, you had to get the bats to knock over the armor that's on top of this platform. But it took me a while to figure that out, because the narrator made it sound like I had to scare the bats out of the room where the armor was.
I need to get it down here, he said, but I can't reach it and I've got no tools for climbing. As if this wasn't enough, the bats in here bugged him all the time. I'll chase them away so that at least I can think clearly, he growled.
The 7th level is the Crown Prince's castle. The first task is to carry the prince all the way up to the prince's bedroom because she wants attention. Translation, she wants to have sex. But yeah, that mission sucked, no pun intended. Next you gotta lock the keeper up in one of the dungeon cells, which is quick and easy. Then you gotta kick the prisoners out of the dungeon window, which was also quick and easy. Finally, you have to blow up the fools with your exploding farts in front of the prince for his amusement. This level wasn't great, but it was a lot better than Creepy Crypt. Level 8 is the Blue Dragon's Castle. This is probably the only level in the entire game that feels open and spacious. Also, I like the music in this level. The first thing you have to do is lead the little baby dragons into this little pool so they don't breathe fire on the knights anymore. I'm not sure how that's supposed to work, but whatever, I'll roll with it. Next you have to grab the fish and throw them into the same pool as the dragons. But it wouldn't have been so bad if the fishes didn't slip out of Shrek's hands every split second. My strategy was to just tap the X button multiple times. Next you have to light up the torches with your exploding farts, which makes the dragon drop his keys to the castle. Finally, you have to climb the highest room to the second tallest tower to fart on the dancing cow's face. No, I'm not kidding, that's the whole objective. For the second time. Anyway, once that's done, the blue dragon comes down and tells you about how Merlin and the Ice Queen met.
You are here for the crystal ball, I assume. I do not understand why the Ice Queen conjured it here in the first place.
Jesus Christ, you couldn't get somebody to actually act in this scene? Sounds like they just took some random dude off the streets, shoved him into a sound booth and told him to read off some lines. Then after that, they just took his audio, put it in a voice changer and called it a day.
Hello, I am your beloved blue dragon. I see that you are trying to save your beloved Princess Fiona.
Finally, we have reached level 9, which is Merlin's Dark Tower Fortress of Pure Evil. Wow, that is a very long and generic name for a level.
Hello, I am evil, vicious, bad person guy. And welcome to my Dark Tower Castle Fortress of pure evil bad.
Merlin's castle sucks. In terms of horribleness, this level is up there with the sewer level and the spooky scary skeleton level. Once again, you're in a dark, small, cramped and crowded area with shitty jumping mechanics, and to make things worse, you have the worst enemy types in the whole game. These tall armor looking dudes are constantly shooting fire at me while I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm supposed to do in this godforsaken level. It turns out you have to grab this walking TNT barrel and use it to blow up the doors. But in order to get it, you have to wall jump over the fence, grab it, kick it over the fence, wall jump over the fence again, and then burp out fire to make it explode next to the door. Of course, it's easier said than done because the enemies are constantly shooting fire at me, which drains my health and causes the TNT barrel to explode. If it explodes, you have to start the whole process over again, and if the enemies kill you, you have to restart the whole level over again. But the game won't give you an option to retry. No, that'd be too convenient. Instead, it'll kick you out of the level and take you back to the world map. Then you gotta walk all the way across the map just so you can retry the damn thing. It was a complete f***ing hassle. I finally got the TNT to blow up all 3 doors after a lot of trial and error, and I finally made it to Merlin. But when I tried attacking him, he flew away somewhere and then he disappeared from the level. I walked around the entire room trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to be doing, but since nothing was happening and since Merlin wasn't attacking me, I just assumed that the game bugged out again like it did in Mother Goose Land. So unfortunately I had to restart the level and do the whole thing over again. It turns out I had to use the TNT barrel to blow up the crystal ball and then attack Merlin with my flaming burps. Do this multiple times and the game is finally over.
Oh my god, I saved Princess Fiona. I gotta watch the cutscene. What, that's it? That's all I get is a cheer from the audience and no dialogue from Princess Fiona?
As Shrek defeated Merlin, the tower shook in its very foundations.
Oh, f you and your storybook ending, dude. Shrek Extra Large is one of the worst games I've ever played on the Nintendo GameCube. The graphics are bad, the level design is terrible, and the overall game isn't fun to play. The game is total trash. However, after many years of owning this dumpster fire of a game, I am happy to report that I have finally beat this game and that I never ever have to play it again. Unless, of course, I'm doing a live stream. If I had to choose which GameCube game I hate the most, it would be Finding Nemo for sure. As much as I hate Shrek Extra Large, I think Finding Nemo is worse because that game puts me to sleep. Let me put it to you this way. If the highlight of your video game is swimming through hula hoops, then you seriously screwed up. Anyway, I'm done with this game. I'm gonna go do something fun, like watch the Shrek movies. Oh yeah.